Ladies and gentlemen, the Union European wants to push the Federation of Russia to relentlessly bomb all the member countries of the European Union. All the countries, I repeat, of Europe. This new statement from the leader of Russian diplomacy, Kallas, just did. It's really the symbol of a Europe determined to enter directly into the war with Russia. This is an unprecedented provocation. Even at this stage, it's simply an unprecedented verbal provocation. Since the European Union has existed, such initiatives have never been decisions made by the European Union. Yes, Kallas and his famous organization, which happens to be the European Union, come from to refute, to repress the plan proposed by America, the plan we had to discuss, a plan which is largely favorable to the Russian Federation. And so the European Union, he did not say directly that they don't want this plan, but they released their plan. But their plan is a plan of aggression. Russia's real plan of aggression from Russia, and which risks to make all states disappear Europeans, because Russia is capable of launching missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, in all European capitals. Look at how dangerous they are initiative. For those who don't know, you know that Donald Trump imposed a peace plan on Zelensky, but a peace plan that stems from what Russia imposed on America. And therefore many countries are ready, many Western countries are ready to accept. The European officials break their silence to say that the European Union, has only one plan, action plan. And this single action plan, it's about continuing the war. It is about continuing to weaken Russia and to support Kiev. But how is that the European Union in its plan, what action plan is intended to weaken Russia? I'm telling you, this is very serious. It's a physical assault which is now planned. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go in the depths of the video conference, I ask you for the share as much as possible. Put in a lot of likes. It needs to be shared in all the possible groups. And always leave a comment if you are new here. You need to click on the subscribe button. Subscribe, that allows you to never miss the hottest news of the moment. The situation is serious. The European Union, without embarrassment, without shame. Here is the strong statement from the head of European diplomacy, Kallas. She claims that the European Union has not that only one action plan concerning the war in Ukraine. That is to say, for them, peace is not part of their action plan. The war must continue. That's it. And for those who had been following Kallas's recent statements, Kallas, she had said that the war in Ukraine should continue for at least 2 years. For 2 years, it should continue. She had reminded everyone that the war was profitable to Europe because continuing the war was less costly than a victory of the Russia. That's how she wanted it. Justified. But deep down, we know how much business do these people run. So she said this: there are measures extremes that are currently being studied by the member states of the European Union. So, in their action plan, they did not. No need for peace. It's one and a single action plan. Weaken the Russia, supporting Kiev militarily, but supporting Kiev militarily while Ukraine no longer has soldiers. We saw earlier during the exchange of bodies, Ukraine gives 30, Russia is donating 1,000 bodies against 30. So the extreme measure they are studying, I tell you, this is very serious. It even includes physical aggression. Yes, Russian targets. Then she said this: the states members are discussing the possibility to reason with the oil companies transporting Russian oil at high sea because they took all the sanctions that are in their body against Russia. It never works. Russia always finds a way to bypass. Now, even the paths of circumvention that Russia uses in high seas, if a Russian oil tanker passes through the open sea, it must be remembered that the high seas are a free navigation space, international navigation. All states of the world are free to navigate over there. That's it. So nobody orders. So if the ships, Russian oil tankers pass at the top of the sea, they will go and attack these ships boarded, immobilized. That's what it means. So that's a physical assault. It's a physical assault. They are currently considering it. Fortunately that they are initially in the phase of the study. But will Russia accept that? If they try to reason to immobilize a single Russian ship, the France had tried, and there I think it was along the open waters off the French coast. At least France had a point. But despite that, Vladimir Putin France was given an ultimatum, piled in quadrant relative to this ultimatums. So what they want to do here is very serious. So it's a rarely seen level of climbing considered up to that point. Physically intervene on ships Russians. When America has an action plan for peace, Europe has an action plan for the continuation of the war. You can see to what level Europe has gone. Is really without embarrassment. Without embarrassment, weaken Russia. For how long? For years they decided to weaken Russia. They never managed to weaken Russia. Since when? Years. They were never able to weaken Russia. On the contrary, the economy of Russia is just galloping ahead. With which army? To support Kiev. Yes, sending a lot of money. The money that is diverted and Kiev to which army? That is to say, the Europeans there don't understand anything. Kaskalas doesn't understand. Nothing. So the European objective is, according to them, what is displayed is to accentuate the economic pressure on Russia. That is to reduce Moscow's oil revenues. That's to limit Russian military capabilities. But they can't. They can't know. So what does that imply? The Union European now assumes an offensive policy. That's it. From now on, it's an offensive policy and not defensive. And this policy offensive goes beyond simple sanctions, economic factors affecting logistics, Russian maritime. That's a provocation, even if he doesn't take action. But even verbally, that's serious. Diplomatically, that creates a big problem divide between Russia and the Union European. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is the front page of the news. Thank you for sharing it. I'll get back to you in a little while with some new news. It was the voice of your humble servant, Robert.